So unlike my smaller and older dinky catalogues, this Corgi catalogue is A4. So apologies if these images are a little bit smaller than the dinky equivalent, but hopefully on a reasonably sized screen you'll be able to make it out still. So this is the front page, and this is a trade catalogue from 1982. So I'm not sure if that makes any real difference. It may just be that there weren't actually Corgi catalogues, for stores to use, because I certainly don't remember. I haven't seen any on eBay, basically. So I wouldn't remember them from the time, which is what I was about to say. But so it may well be that this is the only way you can actually get captures of what Corgi was selling at any given point in time before they sort of disappeared and then eventually came back again. So on the front here, you can see just a sort of snapshot of what I'm about to show you in the various pages. But of course, what immediately bounces out to me there is the Moonraker space shuttle and the Buck Rogers Starfighter, both of which were massive favourites of mine when I was little. So this page is interesting because I don't remember any of these, but there are various obviously TV tie-ins here. You've got Pink Panther, you've got Woody Woodpecker. You've got Popeye, you've got Bugs Bunny. You can see for yourself there are a lot of licensed characters going on there, which is something that Corgi were better at than Dinky. Dinky were, I think, a little bit too slow on the uptake for their own good on that part. And again, as you can see here, now we're getting into DC and Marvel tie-ins well ahead of the curve. Again, this was the early 1980s. So you've got Superman mobile, got a Bat bike, Spider-Man bike, Spider-Man copter, which of course neither of which he ever has. Little Batmobile, Hulk even on a sort of a trike, I think. A random Superman van. I think I had that van. I'm not sure I've seen an example of it. It's the sort of thing I might pick up again, but I haven't seen it. I did get a Spider-Man copter recently. I do have a battered Superman mobile, of which there was a larger version as well. And I have recently picked up the Batmobile at that sort of small size. They're about sort of 7 centimeters long, the same size as the little Moonraker shuttle that I've literally just done a video on. And of course, here is said James Bond tie-in, along with the small Lotus Esprit and the DB of James Bond and the Buck Rogers Starfighter, which again there was a larger version of. I've got examples of both. The others I can't make out because I'm sort of squinting at this on a Windows screen. I think the bottom one is a Starsky and Hutch car as well. So that, again, they were absolutely killing it in terms of their tie-ins. It's very clever. Random sort of Western-based page apparently. Didn't have any of those, I don't think. And sort of general cars. So I guess if you're a particular sort of car enthusiast, I can see the Porsche there. I might have had that Porsche actually. But obviously, they were the Hot Wheels of their day, basically. And indeed, when Hot Wheels arrived, that they were sort of a direct challenger to Corgi and others, and they had to sort of respond, which they didn't do, unfortunately, brilliantly well in terms of the longevity of their brand, sadly. Here we've got the sort of required London bus and taxi. Also this pickup truck, and I'm sure I've seen a similar one to that one in the Dinky catalogue, but I wonder if I actually had this one. Can't quite make my mind up on that. And again, it's one of those things where you think it's one thing, but actually ends up being sort of Matchbox or something else entirely, because there are several ranges live at this point in time where you could have been getting your small cars from. And we've got another 2 CVs. See, now is that the same 2 CVs they just had on the page a minute ago, but the other way around, picture-wise? I'm not sure. And I think that top right car, I may have mentioned that red one, may be the first, what I got when I had my first haircut ever to shut me up and bribe me into doing it. I had the sneaking suspicion it's that one. What else have we got? We've got sort of mixing trucks, tipper trucks. It's quite funny looking at some of these because you can see that Dinky were doing a lot of quite similar things but in their own way. Coca-Cola van even. Yeah, that's funny. Cool. What else? So now we're getting to sort of twin pack territory, and I remember the that's a larger. I think that's the larger Batmobile. Although there was again, see, it's confusing because I think these must still be the Corgi Junior scale ones, the smaller ones, because I remember having a bigger Batmobile and Batboat, but I think there was also a really small Batboat as well, which is probably that one. So you can see they just sort of, they just twinned the logical things to twin up basically there. And again here exactly the same concept. It's just the ones that you've seen before, but in twin packs basically. Because obviously being a trade catalogue, it's just showing the various ways in which they could be sold. And then this was, I think another company did this as well, where they sort of started selling cars sort of in garages. So these are sort of, sold as play sets, but basically it's just cars in garages, or on a car transporter in the case of the bottom one there. So I don't think there's anything sort of shockingly new in there. I think it's just a way of getting a few at a time. And again, I think these are sort of multi-packs, or some sort of mixes, several which appear to be new. But I think there was a Pink Panther car in here which I quite fancied. What I was going to say is actually there's Pink Panther in here, but there's Pink Panther in Dinky at one point as well. I'm about to do some scans of some earlier Dinky catalogues, and they actually did do Pink Panther at one point, which surprised me. Again, more sort of play sets and sort of multi-buys here. None of these sort of triggers any memories for me particularly. And again, we just seem to have some multi-packs of the ones that have come before. So again, nothing hugely exciting there. And just sort of, I can't read on my screen whether or not these are full-on multi-packs or if they're just sort of grouping them, but maybe they were sort of gift packs you could get. That would sort of make sense given how they're themed. So it could be that. So it's probably kind of sort of superheroes, action heroes, and sort of cartoon heroes or something. And then there was this big Corgi storage thing, and at first this didn't ring any bells for me, but when I looked at the new thing bottom right, which was a sort of petrol station and a lifting ramp, the lifting ramp does kind of ring a bell for me. I feel like I sort of had it because I kind of remember flicking that switch and the cars coming up. I don't know. It's a strange one, that one. I don't know why I remember that. Or perhaps a friend had it or something. It's possible. So this is how they would have been presented in stores. And occasionally you do see stuff like this come up on eBay, I think, where you can actually get the sort of trade, the trade shop displays in effect, and you might get several at a time, obviously, if you could find something like that still. Also, it would also explain actually why I've got a small Moonraker shuttle just by itself, because thinking about it, they are being sold in exactly the same sort of bubble sort of wrap kind of idea. I tend to think of things as being carded individually, but these are actually separate horizontal presentation packs. So I bet that's where my shuttle came from originally. So I hadn't really appreciated that, but just looking at them, that's just sort of made me think about that as a concept. So yeah, probably that. Now this is the page that I've done a separate video on, because this is really interesting, because having done a quick eBay scan and from my own sort of awareness, none of these toys on this page have ever actually existed in real life in terms of a commercial release. What they did release was the Corgi battlecruiser, but it is blue and it has a very clear sort of K symbol in black and yellow on its wing, which this one pictured here does not have. Nor do I remember Corgi ever releasing an Enterprise. Dinky did, but Corgi, to my knowledge, never did. And again, I think I would remember that DeLorean if it had come out, even though it's well before Back to the Future time. So I think that these were slated to come out later in the year when this catalogue was published, but this was about the time that Corgi actually stopped manufacturing and stopped being its own entity for the time being at that point. So I think those were product ideas more than actual products. They never actually hit the shelves. That's what I think. And if you know any better than, or you have any details on that, please do let me know, because this page really made me do a double take when I reached it, because I thought, I do not remember ever seeing any of these, or having them when I was little. So odds are, knowing me, I would have picked up, or had my parents pick up, the Enterprise and the Klingon ship. There's no two ways about it. That would definitely have been the case. So I am intrigued by those, and I would love to know whether or not they did actually ever exist outside of perhaps, a sort of factory trials of them. And finally, the last page is just sort of how you might display them in store. And as you can see, just a sort of smorgasbord of potential options there. If you happen to wish to be a sort of a retailer of such items, so I guess you could buy all of those as sort of a wholesale job lot, and then put them in your store. So that was the Corgi Trade Catalogue of 1982, which may well have brought back some memories for you. One notable exception that I've noticed isn't in there, apart from maybe those bigger models I was talking about, is what I believe was a Corgi Junior Blake 7 Liberator spaceship model. I've just got one in an auction, so I'll be having a look at that in due course. But I know it was noticeable by its absence here, and it may be that it wasn't still being produced in 1982. That may be why it's not around here. So I may well try and source an earlier catalogue just to see what the crack is with it. But until that point in time, I shall leave you there on this one. So cheers for now.